What's going on, guys? I just felt like I wanted to make a video slash kind of had to make a video about the incredible story that has come from the Formula One world today. Nico Rosberg, the man who 5 days ago became the new Formula One world champion, has now announced his retirement from Formula One. It's quite amazing to say it, really, and to comprehend what that means, really. This man who 5 days ago proved to the world that he had what it took to see the job through in Abu Dhabi and secure his maiden Formula One World Championship, has now called it a day and retired from the sport. It's incredulous, really, and I, for one, am quite sad to hear this news, just from the point of view that I really thought that for Rosberg, after winning his first championship, it would really kind of launch his career to another level. I thought that the confidence he would have gained from winning that championship would have made him a real contender for 2017. I've seen a lot of people have said that, Hamilton would just steamroll Rosberg in 2017 on even terms, without the reliability problems that he's had this year and everything else. But I don't know. I think Rosberg has been, especially in the last 2 or 3 years or so, he's been quite streaky. When things are going well for Rosberg, he can win 3 or 4 races on the bounce. We saw it at the end of 2015, and we've seen it at times this year as well, profiting partly from Hamilton's misfortune, but also just from Rosberg being on a high, really. And I think that, him having won the World Championship would have really given him a chance next year to just build on that confidence and potentially put up a good fight. But unfortunately, that's not going to be the case. Rosberg has retired. So now the question really going forward is who will take his seat at Mercedes. We've got a few people out there who could genuinely put up a good claim for taking that seat, and it's really the one seat that any person in Formula One would want right now. Mercedes have won the Constructors and the Drivers' Championship for the last 3 years, even with the rule changes coming in 2017. It's the one seat that every man would want. So let's look at the possible candidates for that position. You've got Pascal Wehrlein, the man who has been with Manor up to now, but he is part of the Mercedes sort of driver program, if you like. So in a way, it would make sense for him to come in and take that seat. As a German driver as well, you would think that Mercedes would naturally sort of gravitate to someone like Wehrlein to move into that seat, and that would create a really interesting situation if you assume that Wehrlein is up to the task. He's not really had the equipment yet to prove his worth being in the Manor. But just imagine, the young new guy on the block, Pascal Wehrlein, up against Lewis Hamilton. It would potentially put Hamilton in a position similar to the one that Alonso found himself in when Hamilton joined McLaren back in 2007. And I think that would be a really interesting dynamic to see how Hamilton would cope with that, sort of flipping around the perspective on that relationship that he had with Alonso. I think that would be a really interesting battle to see if Wehrlein had what it takes. So next up we have got, of course, Fernando Alonso, the man who has been with McLaren Honda now for the past 2 years, and McLaren Honda, obviously, everyone knows about how badly the reintroduction to Formula One has been for Honda, with their engines just not being up to the spec, really, and McLaren have subsequently suffered massively with the poor performance of their car, been nowhere near challenging for podiums, let alone victories in that time. And for someone like Alonso, who is generally considered to be the best driver in Formula One at the moment, it's really not been good enough for a driver of his standards. Would he jump at the opportunity to get back into a working relationship with Lewis Hamilton, the man who he famously fell out with in 2007? I think for the opportunity to be in the Mercedes, he would go up against anyone. And I think that would be absolutely fascinating. I think Hamilton, in the sort of last 3 years, has been driving better than ever before. And for Alonso, I mean, this would be the first time really since the Renault years when he won his World Championships that he'd be competing for the championship in the best car. I think he would absolutely, the hunger would be there. The hunger for Alonso would be absolutely immense to take the championship. So I could imagine that being absolutely fascinating. Another man who has been sort of mentioned today is Sebastian Vettel, the man who obviously won 4 championships in a row with Red Bull. and then moved on to Ferrari after an unsuccessful season in 2014, and it's not really worked out for him, you have to say. 2015, he did manage to achieve a couple of victories, but I don't know, 2016 hasn't gone well for Vettel. I think there are times when Raikkonen has looked like the better driver than Vettel, which is quite surprising. Raikkonen's career seemed to be kind of plateauing a little bit in sort of the 2014 period and 2015. But he's really proved his worth this year, I think, and made Vettel look not so much like the dominant driver at Ferrari. So, you know, interesting to think, you know, would Vettel want to go to Mercedes? Would Mercedes want Vettel as well? As, I mean, obviously he is a 4-time world champion, we can't forget that, but also he's had a pretty tricky year at Ferrari. So yeah, an interesting times coming up in Formula One with this incredible announcement today that Nico Rosberg has retired from the sport. And really, 2017 was already looking like being an interesting season with the rule changes that will be coming in, and this has just added another layer to the whole scenario. I cannot wait now for next year, even more than I was looking forward to it already. So anyway guys, that's it for this video. Thank you very much for watching and listening, and I will see you guys next time.